Every life insurance agent is looking to figure out what the key to helping them hit $40,000 months. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what that is, what that looks like, and why you as a life insurance agent should be focusing on this one metric to ensure that you're consistently hitting your goals. My name is Trey, I'm the owner of Agent Lead Lab. In the past 3.5 years, we've helped 550 agents issue pay $40,000 per month. And on this channel, I try to talk about the strategies, tactics, and behaviors that those individuals have went out and actually executed on, and how you can go out and do that as well. So as always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let's hop right into the video. So to keep things really brief, but also to give you a high level, the number one most important factor that agents need to be focusing on is booking appointments. Now, you're probably like, Trey, what does that mean? Why is that important? What does that even look like? So agents struggle with understanding where their metrics start. I can give you 1 million leads, I can give you 5 leads, I can give you 10 leads, but the metric you need to look at is how many booked appointments or presentations can you get? Because that is a number that dictates, right? If you don't have people to talk to, if you don't have appointments or presentations to go through, then you can't make sales, right? It is the prerequisite before the sale that you can't get without having, or essentially, kind of see what I'm saying? Essentially, like you need that, you need to be able to book appointments in order to make sales, right? So you have to focus on the input that gets the output. Most people are like, I just want to make more sales, make more money. It's like, well, what allows you to make a sale? Is a booked appointment, right? Or it's a presentation. So I'm going to go through both of those. So first, let's start with presentation. Now, what does that mean? That's traditionally going to be your one call close, or actually where you go through, do your formal introduction, and actually are able to give them a quote, put them in the best position. Now, by quote, I don't mean, hey, just let me throw you some numbers. I have entire videos on my YouTube channel where I break down what those strategies are, but what I'm really focusing on is how you can better put how you can better put a client, I apologize, in a better situation. By the way, y'all, these are live, so I am in the process of trying to improve my social media and take us from the Loom now to these videos. So just bear with me. It may take a little bit of time to kind of get everything situated, but that's why I like doing these. They're very raw and uncut. So essentially what I'm looking at is this. If you're an agent and you want to get to a presentation, what does that actually look like? That means you're able to walk somebody through, why are you here, right? Who are we protecting? What exactly do you have? Meaning, like, what are the funds you have? What does it look like in your current situation? And then how can I best strategize and put you in the best position to ensure that your family's protected, or whatever that goal is for why you actually filled this out, signed up, or whatever. And then you close them on options, and then you let them pick, and then you close them and you put a policy in place, etc. That is a presentation, right? What happens before that presentation, if it's not, hey, do you have 5 minutes to go through this? And then that leads you to the presentation, is a booked call, right? So they're one and the same. Essentially, some people do all one call closes, or they try to. People pick up, they know exactly what it is, they try to go straight into closing them. That can be good depending on your lead type, and I have videos on the channel that really break that down. But essentially what that looks like is every lead type is created differently, right? Mortgage protection is different than final expense. Final expense is a little different than veterans. Veterans are a little bit different than truckers, than IULs, than annuities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all these different lead types, i.e. demographics, that's how we break it down. And every demographic is different. If somebody is more of a working class individual, you're probably not going to be able to one call close them, right? Like if you call somebody who's a trucker, like they're gonna be busy throughout the day. So you can't just, call them. They may also be driving through the night. So their schedule may be a little different. They may be driving while you try to call them. So you're not gonna probably be able to just one call close. You can sometimes. I'm not saying you can't. You can. It's not that you cannot. But a lot of times people have a different approach for different lead types. Final expense are typically around. There's really no reason to hop on a call the next day. It's just like, let's just do it now and figure out what you could get approved, and let's take care of your family today. And there's never really a reason for you to actually hop into doing a booked call, right? So you need to understand what's important now for that lead type and that demographic. Now, probably the thing that I think is most slept on when it comes to presentations is understanding when to present. All right, if not all respective parties are there and there's going to be a potential objection, you are going to waste your time just presenting. It's the same exact thing I do with my sales team now. I tell them all the time, and I try to focus on this myself, is like, if you ask people the right questions at the beginning of the call and you figure out why they're what they're looking for, and they tell you, like, they sound like they're married and have something, most of the time they're gonna wanna say, hey, I wanna review this with my spouse, or I'll take this to my spouse. You know what happens? You just end up being a quote chopper. And at the end of the day, it's not what you're trying to do. And you may close a few people here and there on one-leggers, but I promise you, you're going to have a lot more chargebacks because there's going to be another conversation. They're going to be like, well, I don't want to do this. I don't understand it. And now they're canceling and they're not letting the payment come out. That's what happens, right? So just trying to force a one-call close is not always the best move. You have to be able to read the room. It takes time. When you're a newer agent, unless you're doing traditional filing expense or veteran for the most part, you're going to be booking appointments. If you're doing mortgage protection, you're going to probably be booking appointments. IUL, you're going to be booking appointments. If you do truckers, annuities, all these different lead types, you will probably be booking appointments. If you're doing traditional filing expense or veteran, because they're typically around, you will be trying to go for a one-call close. That's typically what happens. It's pretty straightforward. There's really not much to it. And you just put them in the best plan. Now, let's move over to the main topic of today, which is going to be booking appointments. Now, I'm a firm believer that without you knowing how much it costs you to book appointment, so that means cost per booked appointment, or you knowing how much it actually, how many booked appointments you need to get a close, you are going to struggle to hit your goals. So, for example, it's reverse engineer. You're an agent. You're saying, hey, I'm making, or I'm spending $1,000 on leads, right? It costs me $200 to book appointments, right? So that means you're only going to get 5 booked appointments out of that pack of leads that you buy. And then for every 3 booked appointments, or let's say every 4, you get a close, so your closing percent is 25%. Well, that means you're only going to get 1 close out of that pack because those are your numbers, right? Now, as you grow, those numbers should go down. It should not cost you $200 to get a booked appointment with leads, like traditional life insurance leads. That's not really how it works, right? So you just need to figure out what those numbers are. Now, how do you figure out what those numbers are? Typically, I always recommend that you start with aged leads. Now, why aged leads? Because aged leads allow you to get your feet wet for a very low cost. It's a low barrier to entry, and then it allows you to scale from there. Now, some people stick with aged leads forever. I'm not a firm believer in that because you're gonna eventually want your time back, but to each his own. The goal here is to make it really, really simple. What we want to focus on the front end is that we need to understand how many leads we need to book an appointment, right? Depending on the lead type and the cost. So let's say that the leads are, you get 100 leads and you book 10 appointments. Okay, that is $10 an appointment. Sorry, 100 leads and you book 10 appointments. Okay, that's fine. And let's say those 100 leads cost you $500. Okay, so you take 500, you divide that by 10, that's $50 per booked appointment. Let's say that of those 10 booked appointments, 5 of them show. You have 5 people no show. Okay, now your cost per showed appointment is now going to be $100 because you take 500 and then you divide that by 5. That's people that show. And then of those people that show, let's say you close 2, right? And then you figure out what your cost to acquire a client is. You need to know what your numbers are because you can't grow until you know those numbers. Now, unfortunately, most people have no idea what those numbers are. Not only from how many leads they need, but also from how much it costs them. That's important because you also need to know how much you're making on the front end, right? So if you close somebody for that same, $100 showed appointment and you're making, let's just say you're netting theoretically after, they give you the advance, right? Let's say the advance is $800, right? You spent your $100 on that presentation. So that's $700. So you're netting $700, okay? Before you paid for that booked appointment, I apologize, you're making whatever it is. $800, okay? So reverse engineer that. That's essentially how you're gonna figure out how much you need to spend and what the actual numbers are. Now, if you really want to get granular, you can look at like your cost to acquire a client versus your show. I'm not going to get too in depth in that in this video. That will probably require me to hop back on the computer, but you get the point. Now, what we're trying to focus on as an agent is those numbers, right? Now, without you knowing those numbers, you are going to struggle. So many people are asking and saying, yo, man, like, I can't, I'm not getting anything out of these leads. Well, let's talk about how you actually get to that point. So I talked about what it is. That's what, like, we need to know what our numbers are in order for us to grow, period. But I need to know, like, how do we get those numbers? So calling leads. Now, a lot of times, the secrets are not secrets. They're just straightforward. I'll give you an example. I had somebody yesterday, I called them 4 times, they didn't pick up. Then I FaceTime audioed them twice, they finally picked up, there were 6 rings. Most people aren't willing to do that because they think it's uncomfortable. Me, I'm not afraid for them to tell me no. When you're dialing, right? Before we even get to booked appointments, you have to understand dialing dynamics. I may record a whole video on this, but dialing dynamics says, hey, how many dials am I going to make in order for me to get a decision? People are trying to search for sales. I don't search for sales. I just search for decisions. When I call leads in the past, when I call leads now, right? I am just trying to get a decision, right? Do you want X? Now, I have obviously an intro script, but at the end of the day, it's not about me getting like, oh, I need to get all these sales. Bro, I just need to get people to make decisions. Do you want it? Yes or no? If you don't want it, cool. There's people that want it. My job is just to find the people that are raising their hand. Now, you use your sales skills and obviously weed out the people who aren't interested, but we're not trying to like force and coerce people. That's not the goal here. It's to help people who have already raised their hand, say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Put them in the right situation, actually help them, and then move on. That's actually how you grow. That's how you scale. It's really simple. There's nothing else to it. So the easier that you make it for yourself to understand that, the quicker you'll be able to grow, you'll be able to help your team grow, and you'll make more money. So when you're dialing, I'm just gonna dial. And if they're like, oh, why you called me? I'm like, oh, my bad. It just kept going to voicemail. Anyways, my name's Trey. I'm getting back to you about the request you put in where you're still looking to X, Y, Z. And they're gonna say yes or no. And then from there, you just make a decision. People are so emotionally caught up in it. Like, don't be emotionally caught up. At the end of the day, you're like in your mind, which you should think from like, oh, I'm trying to make all these sales. I'm trying to do this. The only metric you need to look at is how many presentations or booked appointments do I need? Everything else works itself out of that. Why? Because that's controllable. I look at my sheets and I say, all right, I have all these leads. I'm just going to work. And I set goals for myself. I say, I can't go get breakfast or eat something or do this until I do this. So it's like, I need to book 5 more appointments. Oh, I need to book 10 appointments today. I'm just going to do it until I get 10 appointments. Because I know at the end of the day, if I book 10, I'm going to have XYZ show and I'm going to have XYZ close. And even if I don't the first time, it's going to be double the next time. So if I book 10 appointments, right, and 5 of them will show and I close 2 of them, let's say I book 10 appointments, 5 of them show, I don't close anybody. It's okay. The next time I book 5, I'm going to close 4 out of the 5 because that's how the numbers work. Because 10, it still takes me to exactly where I'm at. That's how you have to understand and know your numbers. You have to be confident because there's so many emotions that go into it. You could have a really bad week, a really bad month. You could have a bad day. You could have a bad few weeks. You can have a bad few months. But if you know your numbers, they always come back. It always comes back to being simple fundamentals. Input in, input out. Now, the input out that everybody wants is 40, 50, 60, 100, $200,000. Well, 40, 50, 60, $100,000 months. We have agents doing 100K, which is crazy. I'm about to have to change the whole dynamic. But either way, most people are trying to figure out what that output is without understanding what the simple input is. And it's just booked appointments or presentations. If you can start reverse engineering what those numbers are, that's when the difference happens. That's when you're able to start scaling and growing. The quicker that you understand that, the more effective that you are, and the longer that you'll stay in the game and the more money that you'll make. So instead of getting so wrapped up emotionally in what's going on, you just focus on logically, what are the inputs that I need to do in order to hit my goal, right? So calling, and I said all that, I went on that little tangent for this. Calling people a bunch of times is not a bad thing. It has such a bad rep because you feel like you're bugging somebody. Yo, they literally filled out a form and said, give me a call. Like you have consent to call them. So I'm calling this person, right? I'm not going to call somebody 6 or 7 times in that example if it's ringing all the way through. Like they're not around or they don't see it. It's okay. I am going to call somebody when I call them, it rings through, and then I call them again, and then it rings through. And then the third time I call them, they let it ring twice and they hang up. So they're hitting decline. Okay, now you see my call. I'm just going to keep calling until you answer. Call, FaceTime audio till you answer. If you're mad, you're mad. It's okay. Hey, I was just trying to call you. It for whatever reason, wouldn't let me push through. Anyway, Susie, my name's Trey. I'm just getting back to you. So you filled this request out looking for veteran life insurance coverage and plans. You listed XYZ as your military brand. Is that correct? Yeah, cool. And I have a beneficiary as this, why this. Is that right? Perfect. My job's really simple. I'm just in charge of making sure I go through the options and see what's going to be best fit for you. What was the main reason that you were looking into this? You just get right into it, right? So you're able to control the narrative because at the end of the day, if they say no, that's okay. I need to figure out why when I call you are you hanging up. You don't know who I am. That's fine. Now, when I tell you who I am, how do you respond? Because that's all I need. I know I have the script, the confidence, the tonality. If you tell me no, you just didn't want it. And it's okay. I'm not trying to force you. Right? But if you say you might interested, then I'm good. Once again, then you can also reverse engineer your no. How many no's do I need to get a yes? No just stands for next opportunity. Really simple. Right? And the quicker that you get that into your mind, the more effective that you will be. So that's how you start understanding the small, intricate pieces for you to be able to stack in your favor, for you to consistently get wins. If you don't know those numbers though, you are going to struggle. I hate to tell you, as an agent, you are going to struggle. I talk to so many agents that are so emotional. Oh, I didn't do well. I didn't do this. I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter. Like I tell people all the time. I tell my team, I tell everybody, like, you make no excuses. Like it has to get done or it has to get done. Point blank, period. Stuff happens because of what we do or do not do. That's how it works. God gives us the opportunity. We either steward it or don't steward it, period. There's no black, there's no other gray, there's no other stuff. It's like, yo, he gave us opportunity. We stewarded what we did, right? If I make $500,000 or $1 million a month or $200,000, it's because of the decisions that I chose to make with the options that God gave me. God said, hey, here are your options. You choose what you want. I ask God, hey, show me how to do this. He shows you things, you got to act on it. A lot of times, a lot of the prayers that we have, that a lot of things that are happening in our life are prayers, things we asked for, right? But we didn't know in the form that they would come, and then we're upset because they came. I said I want to make $1 million a month. We're like crushing it, doing 5 this month. We haven't really been doing that well. That's okay though. It's a part of the process because we're going to shake back and do well. Because I said in order to grow, I knew that as I grew, things weren't going to be easy. You weren't going to go from 500 to $1 million and everything was just going to happen. It took me however many years to get to 200. Then we went from 2 to 4. And then we were at 4 for 2 or 3 months. And now we did 5. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to keep scaling. It don't always work like that. And the month's not even over, right? We could still absolutely crush it. I'm not saying that all has failed. What I'm trying to get to the point of is that every next opportunity that you're trying to get to requires you to do stuff you don't want to do. You probably don't want to track your numbers. Trust me, I don't like tracking my numbers sometimes too, because it shows you the truth. Numbers reveal everything. When you look at things for where they are, you have to face reality. And that's why the most successful people, the most successful agents, agency owners, and business people in the world, they can face reality. They can look at reality and say, this is what's going on, and I either have to adjust it, right, or accept it. Point blank, period. Adjust or accept. That's it. 2 A's. Adjust or accept. Accept is, oh, well, this is my situation. I can't really change it. Adjust is, all right, this is exactly what's going on. Here's how I can adjust and make it better for myself or the people around me, right? So if you're an agent, you can make it better for yourself. You can start making more, or your agency can start making more. Your agents can start making more. But at the end of the day, the numbers are the only thing that reveal that, right? You can sit here and lie and post and do all these other things. But as an agent, you have to understand that if you don't know your numbers, you can't grow your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you can't figure out where you're weak to then improve. It's just like in sports. We look at all the data, we say this person did this, and this, and then we make our decision off of the data that we are presented. The same thing happens in business, or it's actually started in business. That's how it got over into sports, because they're just trying to make business decisions to the best of their ability with whatever information that they've been given. They can't be emotional. They can't take into consideration a bunch of data that's not actually concrete. They have to take what they've been given and make a choice. And I used to not understand that as a player. I was like, yo, can't you just see blah, blah? I'm like, look, they're just looking at data. This, I'm passing, XYZ, height, weight, everything. I'm going to take that into consideration. I'll make the best choice I can. Because if I had to choose off of other things, then I can't. Now, you can go based off of film. I could go based off of sales, right? But at the end of the day, I have to go based off what does the data say and what has it shown me statistically. If I can have X, Y, and Z, this is the type of output that I will get. And that's what we have to focus on, right? How many leads do I need? How much do I need to spend on those leads? How many booked appointments do I need in order to get to a presentation, a qualified person to show, right? And then how many qualified show do I need to get to a sale? And then I can start adjusting those things. Well, if I get a bunch of people who don't show, then that means I'm not really good at tying down. Well, if I get a bunch of people that show and I can't close, that means I'm not really good at closing. Okay, so what part of my closing? Is it in my intro? Is it in the middle? So like I need to go to my mentor and I need to say, hey, listen to some of my sales calls. Here's what's going on. And then they can help us make a decision about what adjustments we need to make. So I hope this video is helpful and pretty straightforward. As always, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. You can head to the website. It's leadlabcrm.com or agentleadlab.com. You can grab some leads. If you're an agency owner and you want to partner with us, you can apply. Go to agentleadlab.com. Book a free strategy session. We can hop on a quick call. I will walk you through what the process looks like. It's pretty straightforward. You cannot come in and just do a high ticket retainer. We have completely discontinued that. You do have to buy leads because it's a relationship. I need to see if you can make money doing what I have to offer and vice versa. Otherwise, there's no point in us pulling out our wallet. You're going to be like trying to charge back or do all these other things, because at the end of the day, we work with thousands of agents. I know exactly what people are looking for. I know what works and what doesn't. We scale multiple agents past $1 million a month just by leveraging our leads, which is saying a lot because at the end of the day, leads really aren't that big of a factor, but we provide so many other free resources that it continues to help to people to grow. And by not a big factor, what I'm referring to is like there's people that are crushing it off of dollar leads. There's people that suck off of $50 leads, right? If leads were the determining factor of those people's success, then people that bought the $50 leads would always succeed, but that's not true because you determine what happens in your situation. So as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.